So you have a new bike. What's next, right? Here's cycling essentials for new bicycle riders in 2025 or 2026. Heck, it could have even been 2010. Here's the general topics we're going to go over. Stay to the end. Definitely, we're going to show specific examples. As you've got a bike, what's next? Here's the basics. Just to get rolling and start enjoying your bike, safety is key. Comfort is pretty darned important as well. Reliability is a major factor for consideration, and flexibility goes a long way. And what do I mean by those general topics? Safety, helmet and lights. That's the core of safety right there. Comfort is built around tires and clothing. Reliability, the essential tools to get started. We're going to keep this as basic as possible. Flexibility, by that we mean go your own way. Do your own thing, ride your ride. The introductory bike we talked about in the previous video was gravel and adventure riding centric, but it's a do anything bike as you're getting started. Do your own thing, but these are the basics. And yeah, these are just the basics. Go ride your bike. This will get you started for your first couple of rides, your first few rides. You'll add more stuff as you need more. And yes, you will need more over time. From my perspective, low cost and free when you're first starting out is fine. You don't know how deep you're going to get into this passion, this sport. Some people go nuts and just keep going further and further and deeper into it. Some people stay very surface level. This will get you started, low cost and free. Nothing wrong with starting there and finding what works and, more importantly, what doesn't work for you. I'm going to talk about brands I have personal experience with. That doesn't mean mine are the only ones that are the right ones. Do not start riding your bike without a helmet. I'm not getting preachy here. If you ride your bike a lot, at some point you're going to hit your head and you're going to be thankful you have a helmet on your head. I consider lights very important, even if you're riding mountain bikes or planning to ride just bicycle paths or park trails or whatever else. I still consider lights important. You never know when you may have to go out on the streets to divert or something else, or something goes wrong. You have to shortcut. Lights are always important, particularly if you do stay out after dark. Pump and tools, extremely important. The varying levels of tools. We're going to keep this one super basic. What you need just to get by to begin with. The air pump is really at the top of the list. And technology these days is a major factor for cycling. And we give you some tips and suggestions along those lines. Again, free is fine. For a helmet, the most important aspect when you're first starting out is get one that fits properly, that stays on your head the right way. The reality is all the helmets meet the same basic safety standards. Any bicycle helmet you buy is going to be as safe, whether it's a $25 helmet or $250 helmet. And yes, there's even helmets that are more expensive than that. If you want to stay low cost initially for your helmet, there's nothing wrong with that. Make sure it fits your head properly. Because if it doesn't fit your head properly, the safety can go away. But also, if it's not comfortable, you're going to be less likely to wear it. So fit is the most important aspect. Lights, from my perspective, I take the KISS approach, keep it simple, stupid. I want what I know will always be there and will always be ready to go when I need it. I'm a fan of rechargeable lights, but it also doesn't hurt to have maybe just a spare little backup battery light in the mix. Pumps and tools. This is where it gets super important on the bicycle pump. Everybody should have a floor pump, and that floor pump should have a pressure gauge on it. You need to know what you're inflating your tires to. Don't plan to get by just by squeezing the tire and that feels good. You need to know what pressures you're running. And on the technology side of things, you want to keep track of your riding stats so you see how you're progressing. Somewhere down the road, you're likely to need to see routes, or you want to record where you've ridden and show other people your routes. And also, if you have loved ones that want to keep track of you, live tracking or just letting people know where you are can be an important part of the mix as well. We did touch on clothing. We're going to talk about it just a very tiny bit here. Please feel free to visit our free community site, spinistrychat.com, and start a discussion there if you have thoughts or questions about clothing. But let's talk about some of the basics. You want a wicking material. You don't want to be riding in 100% cotton. You want something like a fishing shirt or a racing jersey or something like that. Same with your shorts. That's going to wick the sweat away. If you wear cotton, it's gonna get dripping wet, stick to you. It's not going to ventilate well. It's going to be uncomfortable, and many ways it can be uncomfortable. Another important thing, particularly with your shorts or your pants, you don't want seams. You don't want seams rubbing you the wrong way in uncomfortable places. So cycling clothing is cycling clothing for a reason, particularly when you start getting around the saddle area. It makes a big difference. No dangles. This gets into the safety. You don't want loose things hanging down that are going to get caught up in the chain or the chain ring or whatever else. They can get hung up on the nose of the saddle. You can catch sleeve holes on the handlebars, button up your sleeves, roll them up, whatever else. Dangles are like one of your worst enemies from a clothing perspective. So, make sure your trouser leg on the right-hand side, the chain side, is strapped up or bound or rolled up or non-existent. Eye protection is pretty darned important. Even when you're a casual rider, your bicycle tires, or if you're riding with other people, or just people passing by on the road or whatever else, it's crazy how rocks seem to head straight towards your face. Eye protection is key, whether it's sunglasses or even at night, you'll probably want some sort of clear eyewear. And shoes are important as well. Again, to the no dangles. Not a big fan of shoelaces myself. I'm not saying you have to go out and get cycling specific shoes, but shoelaces are generally speaking problematic. Also, typically you would like a little bit stiffer sole on your shoe to distribute the weight while you pedal, whether you're clipless or flat pedals, whatever works for you. I'm not going down that route there, but also generally speaking, you want something that you can walk around on. So usually some sort of all-weather and all-terrain tread on the sole is not a bad direction to keep in mind. Don't go riding in dress shoes, okay? So let's start talking about some specifics now. We started with helmets, and I am showing the Smith helmets because I have personal experience with them. I am a fan, and this one particular helmet here, this Signal MIPS, is actually the helmet I have, and right now it's available from $51 to $85. And that's an example. Here's a $270 helmet right next to it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that $270 helmet. I'm saying you're not going to get any higher safety from that $270 helmet that you'll get from this. We'll call it $85 helmet. I'm assuming the 51 is maybe an extra small or something like that. But fit is the most important thing as it regards to helmets. I highly recommend trying on helmets on site at a bike shop or a sporting goods store or whatever. I'm also one of those, I'm not a big fan of trying on helmets and shoes at a physical location and then ordering them online. So, just be judicious in your research and reward the local businesses with your business when you can. I am a huge fan of Lezyne lights. Most bike shops, you can pick these up on site, and usually you can get kits that have both the front and the rear light. I like the rechargeable lights myself after every ride. Even if I haven't used the light, I just throw it on the charger and make sure it's ready to go. Rear lights are essential. Front lights definitely at night are essential. I'm a big fan of the front lights during the day as well. Here's a very, very hugely important thing when you're first starting out, and it is one of the most neglected things. Get a good floor pump with a pressure gauge on it. I'm showing this Specialized one. I ended up with one of these secondhand indirectly, and this thing is a tank. This thing has been beat to hell, and it's put up with every bit of it. So I'm a fan of this particular Specialized pump. $70 is not a bad price for a durable pump like that. I paid more for much less durable pumps. Definitely wherever you buy the bike from, see what brands they carry. The pressure gauge is the most important aspect of it. Also keep in mind, these pressure gauges on bike pumps are probably not calibrated. If I say I'm using 40 pounds of pressure on my tires, for example, I say that on that pump or whatever pump I use. If I use your pump, what is 40 pounds on my pump, maybe 45 on yours or 35. I realize some people may go $70 is steep. I'm not going to pay that. Or you may have a bike shop that only has $200 pumps. If you need a bargain basement one, I usually don't promote buying online, but this is really essential. I would rather you buy online and get a $30 Amazon pump. I don't have experience with this pump. I've heard good things about it from people that do use it. It has the pressure gauge. That's important. Here's one thing I want to bring up that you may, if you're a newer rider, you may not be quite aware of. There are different types of valves for different bike tires and tubes and tubeless setups and things like that. Generally speaking, this Presta valve on the right-hand side, that's usually what higher end, for lack of a better term, non-Walmart bikes. Once you start getting over $1,000, you're probably going to have a Presta valve. Whereas what most people may be used to if they haven't done a higher end bicycle are what are called Schrader valves, like what's on a car tire or a Walmart bike or what you may have ridden as a kid. You definitely want to make sure the floor pump you have cares for all of them. And that's something this lower end one does. Also super important, but I'm going to qualify this, maybe not as important as the floor pump itself when you're first starting out. Yes, you're going to want to go down this road and get proper tools to carry with you and an emergency kit. Yes, that is a gotta have as you get into it. But your first couple, 3 rides, maybe you don't. If you have to hold off on something, maybe this is it. And this is one of those that what I would recommend just starting out with something like this $27 Amazon kit just to get started. And because it has a decent bag, it has all the basic tools, a basic multi-tool, that's an essential. Something to keep it in, that's an essential. Yes, a handheld pump or CO2 or something for emergency air, those are essential. But here's the qualifier on this. If you don't know how to take your wheel off your bike to change a tire yet, that should be towards the top of your list of things to learn. Make no mistake. But I know a lot of people are going to start riding their bike before they know how to do that. And that's why I'm saying you may not have to start with this kit, but as soon as you get your first flat tire, yeah, you'll need to, if you don't know how to change a tire, you need to learn how to do that. And this isn't the video to teach you how to change a tire, because the reality is these days, there's a gazillion different wheel removal setups. Every bike is different these days. And this is another reason why I highly encourage folks to buy a bicycle from a bike shop. And while you're buying it from the bike shop, have them walk you through, if I have a flat tire, how do I change a tire on this bike? Every bike is different. So for me to do a generic video right now probably isn't going to help most newer riders. And there's a gazillion other YouTube videos out there. From basic tools, we'll start talking about some of the technology that's going to help you out. I'm a big fan of Strava for tracking your workouts and your rides and what you're accomplishing. You can also use Strava to find places to ride and routes and things like that. Basic Strava is free.